Hello there, my name is Bryson Jack, and today I'm going to give a tutorial on a few things that I learned today. I told myself if I figured them out I would help somebody else out and post the information. So I am going to be using a couple add-ons that you have to buy separately. One of them is called Random Object Array by Manuel Geisinger, if that's how you say it. 0.7.3 is the version. And there's another one called MotionTool by Cogmello. Let's see if I can spell that right here. By Cogmello Softworks, if that's how you say it, version 1.1. They're both great add-ons, and I would recommend them if you can afford them. They're not too expensive, but they're nice to have and nice to learn. What I'm going to do in this scene here is to create a wood plank, and I want this plank to bend in a cartoonish way. I'm actually going to have a whole series of planks that will bend as they fall into place, as was shown at the beginning of the video. But the first step is to get it ready to be animated using the Simple Deform modifier. Anyway, so the first challenge that I was trying to figure out was how to use the Simple Deform bend modifier and to have it bend in the y-axis. And the reason why that's a challenge is because the bend modifier only works around the z-axis. So, and I know you can do it with empties and stuff, but I didn't want to do it with empties, so that's what I figured out. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to hit Shift A there, and I'm going to create a plane, and I'm going to make sure that got my 3D cursor pivot point there. And then I'm going to just go into edit mode and select this edge, and I'm going to scale it along the X 0. Sorry, the way I've got my setup here, I'm typing with one hand, so it's kind of hard sometimes. And then right here I'll just go ahead and scale this in the X 20 times, or yeah, with the value of 20. Alright, and then I want to this is going to be like a plank, like a wood plank. So I will scale it in the Y, I don't know, like 0.5. Alright. It's going to be kind of wide. Actually, I could probably just scale it to 0.2. No, that's not. Let's just go a little bit. There we go. That's fine. Just didn't want it too wide for what we were doing. Alright, so the next thing we'll do is in edit mode, hit Control R, and we're going to do some loop cuts here. I'll just do, like, say 15. I just set the value there. And what I'm going to do is I'm doing it this way, partially just because that's how I was doing it before, and also because I can teach a few other modifiers here for people who aren't aware of it. So the first one is the solidify modifier. You can take a plane and you can hit that. You can add the thickness to it. So let's just say 0.15. Let's see. Right, and that'll give some thickness to the object. By the way, the reason why I did the loop cuts is because it adds resolution, so that when you're using the bend modifier, that it will actually bend. If I didn't put those cuts in there and it was just one solid object, then it wouldn't give me the results that I would want. So the next modifier I'm going to use is the bevel modifier, and the bevel modifier is not really necessary unless you're going to be doing some close-ups, or either at least close enough where the light would be hitting the edges or whatever. So let's just say like 0.015 here. Anyway, but you can see what that does. It just makes it so you don't have hard edges, and it makes the light play with it a little better. Anyway, so now what I'm going to do, I'm just going to go ahead and collapse those right there, and then I'm going to add a new modifier and call this one Simple Deform. And as you see right now, it's defaulting on twist, so you want to click on the bend. Alright, so because it's only working in the z-axis, if you go to the top view and you drag this angle here, you can see what it's doing. All right, but see, I don't want it to do that. I want it to rotate, like if I was at the front view, I want it to go up and down. So that this green axis right here is the y-axis. Anyway, so what I'll do is I'll go to the side view, and I'm going to rotate it in the x-axis, -90. All right, and I'm in object mode, and then I'm going to hit Control A, and I'm going to apply the rotation and scale and the location, and then I'm going to rotate it in the x 90 degrees. So I'm basically restoring it back to the way that it was, but of course I'm not going to freeze the rotation. So now I have, so this right here, this is a global for the transformation orientation, and so you can see right here that this this gizmo with the world, matches the world coordinates down here with the z and the y and the x. But if I switch over to local, now you're going to see that the blue right here is the z-axis, and so I've essentially just accomplished what I wanted, because now I know this is going to rotate around the z. All right, and that gives me exactly what I want. All right, so I've got my plank made, and this is where the random array modifier comes in. I'm in object mode here, and I believe it's this one, yeah. All right, I've got a lot of tabs here, so sometimes you can't see them. I just have to know where they're at. All right, so this is what I want here is I want to have a bunch of planks, like 30 of them, okay? And I don't really want to use an array because I want them to be their own objects. And so I'm going to uncheck real time, and I'm going to uncheck random seed, and I'm going to use grid mode. Now, since we're in local, now we can see what axis I'm dealing with here, and I want it to repeat this way. And so on the Z, I'm going to say 30, and I want them to be spaced. I don't want them to be touching. So I'll use on the Z, I'll just say like 1.5 for the value, and I don't want to parent it, because otherwise when I create all the copies they would be underneath that, which I don't want. I want them to just be on their own. And then instead of instances, I'm going to choose real copies. All right, and then I'm going to hit apply, and if I did it right, all right, so I'm going to hit Control Z, and let's try -30. Oh, it doesn't do that. All right, 30, fixed offset. I don't really know. I haven't had this happen before, so 1.5. This is kind of interesting here. All right, so yeah, sometimes you just have to kind of play with stuff to get it the way you want it. And I actually don't like how spaced those are, so I'm going to just hit Control Z again, and I'm just going to say -1. And then apply. It's a little better. How about just Control Z again? Sorry. If I rehearsed this and had it exactly right, then I wouldn't be wasting time, but that's how it goes when you're modeling stuff. All right. So I'm done with this add-on for I just wanted to use it to help me make all the copies. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to switch to the motion tool in the tool shelf here in the object mode, and I can't do anything with it yet. It's all grayed out, and so I'm going to switch to the node editor, and this right here, this is the motion tool node viewer, and then right here I just hit new, and so I create a node tree for motion tool. If I hit T and open the shelf, now I will have access to all these different things. Also with motion tool, you can just hit Shift A, and you can also access the same things, so whichever you prefer. So I've created a node tree. This is where you lay out what's called a diagram of your animations. And so I'm going to hit, let's see, is it Shift F5 to go back to my 3D view. And I'm going to just select this first one here, and I'm going to go to the go to the scene panel and scroll down, and then it says MotionTool Groups, because I want to make a group. All right, so I'm going to hit that, and then I'm going to go back to go to the constraint panel over here. And the way that MotionTool works is I could do this individually. I can go over here to Diagram, and I could choose the node tree that I created, and then we have a 90-degree rotation here. This is where everything starts out at, and I can just set the initial parameters. But I want to do this for everything, so I'm just going to go ahead. I'm going to just select everything, click Set Diagram, and then choose Node Tree and hit OK. And then go ahead and just set the initial parameters, even though I know I'm going to change it right now because I'm going to raise it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to hit G, and I'm going to hit Z, and I'm going to raise it, we'll just say 10. All right. And then I'll go ahead and I will say set initial parameters again. All right. Now, the other thing that I want to do is I want to add this to a group. And I could do this a lot of ways, but the easiest way, because I've got it set with plane, and then it's 1, 2, 3, 4, so everything is in order by the numbers, so, or by the object name, excuse me. So if I hit object name, what it's going to do, and I just go ahead and select that group that I did in the scene tab and hit OK. And what that is going to do, if I scroll down here in this constraints panel, you can see there's an ID that has been assigned. And what that does is when there's a delay or something like that, it's going to multiply it by this number. And so you can see if I go through here, that's 2, 3, 4, and so everything is in order. And so that's what's going to happen, is this is going to go in order. If I selected all these and I hit random, then it would randomize it, or I could choose it by axis or vertex weight. If I choose fixed, it will actually give everything the same number, and I can go in and do it manually. But anyway, so that's that. Hopefully that explains a little bit about the assign group ID. All right, so basically we've got this thing set up here to where we can go ahead and start working on the node work. And so I'm going to go ahead and do that. I'm going to switch back. Actually, I don't remember what the hotkey is, so I won't embarrass myself. All right. Actually, you know what? I set up a little scene here, and you can do that, by the way. You can just hit this plus, add a new scene. Is that what it's called, a scene? Screen. Okay. You can set up a new screen, and then you can name it, and you can save it with your startup file or whatever. But anyway, so the first thing that I want to do, that you always do when you're setting up a diagram, is you're going to go to flow control. Actually, we want to select this node tree here, and you want to choose begin, because begin is the first node on home. I'll just scroll in to zoom in. But like I said, if I delete that and I hit Shift A, I can also just do it here, and I'm kind of used to just using the menu that way. All right, so the usually the next step is you choose like an anim position. So I'm going to hit Shift A, and then I'm going to go to Transform Anim Position. All right, and I'll just kind of start basic here. So it's going to start here, and then it's going to move to the next thing here. So we're just going to connect these two together, and also we're going to I set the initial parameters for all those. You know what? I don't even remember if I did that again, so I'm just going to do it now. So I'm going to select everything here again, and then go to the tool shelf and go to Motion Tool and just set the initial parameters. That because I raised it up 10 units, and so I want it to keep all that information as the starting point. So anyway, back to what we were doing. So the start position, I'm going to go ahead and just drag it to here, and so everything will start at that position. And for the end position, I want it to come down in the Z by, let's see, -10. I'm pretty sure that's going to work. And So we'll go ahead and just try it. So actually, let's change the duration to say like 30 or something like that, and then go ahead and play it. All right. So, well, it's going a lot lower than what I wanted, but that doesn't matter. But you see how everything was. Let me go back here so you can see this. So everything kind of starts out side by side, and then it comes down and it goes into the same position as the very first one. Well, we don't want that. So that's why we're going to use relative here, because instead of an absolute value, it's going to be an additive, and it's just going to be relative to the position that each one is in. So now when I play that, you're going to see that it just comes down and then it stops right there, which is exactly what I want it to do. And you can also, let's see, let me just change this, the end frames to something like, well, let's just say 60. All right, because in that way, what I can do is I can play with it and it'll loop over and over. And the reason why that's nice is because while it's playing, you can come in here and you can change some of the interpolation values. And there's some really fun ones, you know, like elastic out, but you can't see it. Well, you can see the bounce there. There's also a bounce out, you know, where it kind of bounces. So the effect will even be more pronounced as we move on. But just know that you can change those while you're playing this. All right. So now the other thing, the reason why I did a group. Well, actually, I'm not going to show that yet. Let me let's work on the node that supports the modifier here, which is you know, this right here, this this bend modifier. This should be at the top of the stack, just so you know. So I'm moving that to the top of the stack. Also, the other thing is you can rename Simple Deform to something else. Like, let's just say that I wanted to call it, like, say, Bendy. Okay? So I changed that name. Well, what I've done, I have plane 05 selected. All right? And that's this one right here, that plank. Okay? It's kind of a weird way to do it, but that's all right. I can still show you what I want to show you. If I click on all these other things, you can see that the bend modifier is at the bottom of the stack. It's not named the same. So the question is, how do I get all these other ones to share the same, you know, modifiers as this one? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to hit A to select everything, and then just that active selection is correct. That's the one I want. So then I hit Control L and to make a link, and I'm going to link it to the modifiers. All right. And so what happens now is when I select this, you're going to see that the bend modifier is now at the top of the list, and it's called Bendy. And that is going to be the case for every single, you know, one of these. All right. So that's how you can get those values across. All right. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to use what's called a set float modifier. So I'm going to hit Shift A. And let's see which one it was. It's under Effects, maybe. Set float modifier. There you go. And I'm going to connect the next over here, the in. And so now I believe the way that this works. All right. There's this angle right here value. Okay. And so I'm going to go ahead and set that back to 0. And I believe the way this works is if I hover over here, I can see that it says it's bendy and dot angle, and I believe that is you know what I'm using for the values for this. But anyway, so right here I'm going to type in bendy, okay, because that's the name of my Simple Deform, and then for the parameter I'm going to type in angle. All right, and then you can see right here that when I increase this, you know, in the positive value, it's going up. So if I change this float value here to 1, then what that's going to do is that's going to bend it upwards, and I'll just give it a duration of 1. All right, and so now I can go ahead and I can test that, and I can see what that does. and I'll zoom out a little bit so you can see. Alright, so we're starting to get some animation done here. Now, there's a couple other little node work groups here inside this diagram that are necessary to complete what I'm trying to do. And I gotta be honest, I don't fully understand all of these nodes and what they do. I just know what works. I kind of reverse engineered watching the what's new in the beta 2 video to do this. And so anyway, I'll just go ahead and show you how I have it set up so that it's working. Maybe when I figure out things a little better, I can give a more intelligent explanation of all the nodes. But anyway, so what I want here are just a few more that I want. One of them is called set scale, and that's going to be in the transform. So I'm gonna select that. And then also the one I am familiar with is delay. That's under the flow control, and that's going to utilize our groups. And then let's see, the other one we're going to want to anim float. I believe that's under, let's see, animators. There we go. And then I think that's going to be good for now. Let me just zoom in here so we can see what we're doing. Alright, so I'm going to just bring the set scale down here, and I'm going to connect the next here. I'm going to hold control. I'm going to go ahead and just cut, well, I didn't mean to cut the bottom one, but it's alright, I can hook it back up. Anyway, so also for the start scale, I'm going to connect that to the start scale here. And then for the end scale, I'm going to set this to, let's see, 10. Actually, that's not true. I don't want that at all, because this is scale. I want it to just stay as 1 all the way down the line. Alright, and then for the duration, I will choose 1, and that looks good. And then what I want to do is I want to just hit Shift D and duplicate this, and I'm going to connect the out scale to the start scale. I can connect the next to the in. Now I actually want this delay in here, so I'm just going to drag that over that wire there, or noodle, whatever you want to call it. And then I'm going to choose group sequence, and this is where groups come in. So when I made that group in the scene tab, and I assigned the group, and I used all the IDs, so that's what this is. And then for the delay, I'm just going to choose something like 3. Alright, and then I'll move my anim position over here, and I will take this out, plug this in, and then where's the anim float? We'll move the anim float over here, and I will connect this to the in there. And let's see, this start position, I want to go ahead and just connect it to the anim position like that. And let's see, that's all good. Now the next thing I want to do is I want a float modifier, so I'm going to hit Shift D. I'm going to move this one over here, and I want these values, so that's good. But I am going to just go ahead and wire up these. Alright, and then I'm going to select this and this one, and I'm going to hit Shift D again to duplicate both of those. I'm going to wire that up, and then I'm going to change these let's see, the end float and the start float value. So for the end float over here, I'm going to put this as 1, and for the start float over here, I'm going to use 1. Alright, so let me go out of here and hit 8 home. I should zoom in there, and I'm going to hit play, and we're going to see what kind of effect we get here. Alright, so it's getting there, but it's not exactly what I want. So now I need to go through here. What's nice is when you're watching this play, it's going to light up. Each node's going to light up as it goes through, but it's happening really, really fast, so it's kind of hard to see. Alright, so let me just go through here and just check everything and see if it's the way that I wanted it set up. I've got that there, and the start scale. For the end scale, we've all got that consistent 1. Group sequence is correct. Alright, anim position. Yeah, that looks good. I know I'm going to want to increase my value, my frames. Just checking everything here to make sure I got it right. Alright, so looks like what I did here is the duration is not on. It's off. So I'm going to turn those on. I should... And then let me just increase this to, like, say 120. And let's try that again here. Yeah, alright. What's going on, it takes me a while sometimes to figure out what's happening. The reason why it's looking weird to me, I think, is because of the bounce out. So I'm going to go ahead and change this to... Let me just go back out here so that you can see what's happening when I change this. So I could change it to something like, say, cubic in. There we go. There we go. That's what I was looking for. The viewport sync is a little bit off, but anyway. Alright, so that's the effect that I'm going for there. The last thing that I'm going to do, let's see, I'm going to just change this to cycles. And I'm going to go to, let's see, append. And I'll just pick something like this. Material. We'll just choose something like a wood floor and append that in. So what I can do is I can take this plank right here, come over here, and I can assign it to the wood floor. And then, as I showed you earlier, I can just hit Control L, and then I can just link all the materials. So now it's all going to have a wood floor texture. And then I need to add a camera to the scene, so I'm going to do that. And I'm going to hit Control Alt and 0. That's going to set my camera to my view there. And then I'm going to hit G and kind of zoom out a little bit and move up. And I also need to just hit Shift A here. And I'm not going to do like 3-point lighting or anything. I'll just choose like a hemi light. And let's see, let's just go to the side view here and rotate it a little bit. And go to the top view and rotate it like that. Alright, go back to my camera. I'm just going to render out an image really quick. Alright, and then go to the world here and give myself a white background. And alright, and then might as well just go ahead and show you the whole thing here. So if you wanted to set this up as an animation, now I'm going to just play it one more time. And I'm going to wait till it gets to the very end of the animation. And it doesn't get there, so I want to give it some more time to play here. Alright, so I'm pretty close. I'm just going to leave it at 160. So what I do is I go over here to the render panel, and it's gonna automatically have my my start frame and end frame correct. And all I need to do is just click on this temp directory. I'm just going to create a quick file folder here to save this stuff, and then once you're done with that, just hit accept. So that's where you know, all the frames are going to go. I don't ever just render out to video. I render out frames, images, and then I build the movie. And so I can go ahead and just show that as well. I've got a pretty fast I've got dual GPUs here, and it's pretty fast. It's only going to take probably a few minutes to do this. So, and I might just pause it while I'm doing it anyway, but I'll just show you. So I've got it all set up, and all I have to do is just hit animation, and it's just going to go ahead and it's going to run through each frame. Alright, so it just finished rendering out all the images, each of those 160 images, and the last step is I want to take those images and I want to make it into a movie. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to my video editing here, go to frame, add, image, and then select the directory that you saved your animation renders to. Hit A, select them all, start frame, change it to 1, end frame 160. Then hit add to image strip. Add image to strip right there. And all I need to do now, because I've got everything set up, I've got the folder that it's supposed to go into and everything, I just want to change PNG. I'm going to just change it to like H.264. And I can just go back up and press the animation thing, and it is going to run through here and build my animation. Alright, and there it is. So anyway, that's what I wanted to show. You know, I wanted to show how to use the bend modifier without an empty to be able to get it to bend in the direction that I wanted, and then also how to use motion tool and a random object array to assist with that, and to be able to get an output like this. Anyway, hopefully you enjoyed this tutorial and you can make use of it, and I hope you have a wonderful day.